How's it going, Acolytes? Welcome back to the Arcane Archive. We are here with another incredible, astonishing episode of the Cautionary Chronicles. Yes, sir. We are back once more, as we always are, and as we always will be, for we are eternal and forever. Hopefully, with your support, of course, as always. Please be sure to like, comment down the video, subscribe, and share the channel. And it helps us immensely. If we really plan to be. But that being the case, we've got quite a nice little assortment of stories and tales for you today. I do believe that today's theme is looking to be on the side of bullying a little bit here. So much of this just seems to be people acting just really childish and petty and just not even trollish. Well, they are being trollish, but just out of a weird, just that old-fashioned, bully mentality of just wanting to pick on people just for the sake of it. What do you think, Sammy?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of kind of the weird, pathetic treatment of others that I don't quite understand in a collaborative game that you're supposed to have fun with.
And strange lack of any kind of intervention, from GMs or other players in a weird way too. So with that being said, now that we've whetted your appetite appropriately, let's go ahead and dive right on in here. We shall keep you in suspense no longer. This first story that we'll be reading of the day is titled Bullies Mess With Me and Then Accuse Me of Having an Affair with GM, But He Is My Cousin by Hauntil. This is my first post ever, and I thought about not posting this experience, but my friends and some people on YouTube, interestingly enough, assured me that it might help my frazzled nerves when I think about it. Sorry if it's long, I'm on my phone, and hopefully the tag isn't wrong. For this story, there's me, GM, my cousin, it becomes important for later, and 3 players, Cleric, Paladin, and Druid. It begins when I learn that my oldest cousin actually GMs D&D from time to time, and he learned that I have an interest in it and invited me to a one-shot as part of my belated birthday present from him this year. I agreed, and we worked out a day to play. This one-shot's purpose was to teach all of us who were joining how to play with 5e's rules if we ever got invited to other games, which is handy, especially for me. Also, he just had a lot going on in real life that he couldn't really make it into multiple sessions at that time. So that being said, I was still super pumped when I learned that where we would be playing is also my favorite local gaming store, where I'll have familiar faces to visit and interact with as well. Me and the GM, he was also my ride, showed up early and got the table ready for the other players towards the back of the store. I noticed he had a few wrapped packages set on a counter nearby. He mentioned that the other players were some of his employees, but when they showed up and I saw them, I literally felt my blood go cold and then begin to boil. They were my age and were my bullies throughout my entire school life. Their bullying wasn't just name-calling either. It sometimes got physical, and I once got a broken arm, but the school did nothing about it. Jesus, that story's for a different tab. I mean, that's not even the school at that point. You can just press charges legally.
And you should have.
I don't even understand. I don't see what the school, you don't even have to have the school. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I didn't want to cause a scene, and they seemed surprised to see me, but acted as if they didn't know me. When we sat, I made sure to be closer to GM out of habit when I feel uncomfortable. For context, GM and I aren't really that close, and he never knew I was bullied in school since we just never talked much before. We created our characters with GM's help, an elven cleric, a wood elf druid, a human paladin, and I, a male rogue kobold, which got looks from the others since I'm female. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
DM started us off meeting in the scholar's office to see about taking a job of going into the vault of a nobleman to nab an artifact that they think is being used to control the common folk of the city. We agreed, and I chime in asking, do we get half shinies now or in the other half later? I hear a scoff from Druid, and he says in the most condescending tone I've ever heard, as if you need gold, lizard. I then point out in character, we will need shinies now for supplies. I doubt you have any with living in the woods and sleeping with rabbits like stuffed toys. Druid full glared at me above table, and I only corked a brow. DM then says that the scholar finds it more than reasonable to make a down payment for this to motivate us. He then describes that the vault is in the forest and disguised as a cave. It is a basic one, but that it is only a front as well. The area we would need to go to is actually further inside or further under, since previous hires scouted the vault and discovered a secret chamber underground. But inside that chamber, the artifact is on a high up pedestal of some sort with a magical field around it. It's a very detailed. Honestly, in general, in game at this point, wasn't so bad. Aside from being glared at by Druid, I had hoped that these guys grew up over the years. Oh boy, I was wrong. So very wrong. We began to make our journey to the vault after Cleric got some valuable information from the nobleman's maid. During the entire trek, the trio would make snide comments about my kobold, such as, "I'm surprised that a lizard could actually do anything other than be target practice." And any attempts of me just having casual and friendly conversations with them is immediately shot down. Why? Like, how old are you guys at this point? Like, or they decide to steal my items. Like, how far back was this? That, like, she said, an entire school, like high school, middle school, your whole school career, like, okay. Or they decide to steal my items. I had bad luck with the dice, and Paladin took my potions, saying, "These are for people, not animals." And instead of tucking them into his own pack, he smashed them in the ground. I was beyond angry because not only did he break my healing potions, one of them was an invisibility potion meant for the heist. They're all smirking after the potions are smashed. DM spoke up, seeing how angry I was getting. DM spoke up, seeing how angry I was getting, and said, "If you do anything else like that, you're kicked from the table. No exceptions, Paladin. This is supposed to be fun, not irritating." Okay, all right, love it, love it. Showcasing, yeah, some actual awareness and some DM intervention. You know, we love it. We absolutely take those. They all nodded, but glared at me again for being scolded. DM is doing his best to not be biased to anyone, but I know he isn't the type to put up with any unnecessary BS like what Paladin pulled. After that, the trek is rather uneventful and silent. That is, until we stumble on a group of guards that decide to play hockey rather than guard the vault that they were supposed to. Okay. I initially tried to convince them that we were just passing through, while also subtly trying to ask which way they came from. Then Cleric butted in and said, "Don't listen to the monkey lizard. It doesn't know any better." And after a failed deception roll from Cleric, since he took over the conversation, we roll initiative. Unfortunately, I got the lowest roll, so my turn is also after the enemies. We're all learning our attack/damage rolls and what dice to use as we go. I use my turn to take cover so I can try and flank the guards. When Paladin's turn comes around, he ends up moving to where I was and is almost right on top of me and would say, "Oops," sarcastically, when his character would donkey kick mine for no reason. DM then said, "It would be helpful if you weren't right on top of Rogue. These guys know spells." He tried to say that it was the best vantage point for him from the enemies, but it sure as hell wasn't. When it was the enemy's turn, Paladin made sure to get their attention, and one of these enemies was a wizard. The wizard casts Fireball, and I have to make a saving throw. I fail and get hit. The entire combat instance was like this. When I moved, either Paladin or Druid would be right on top of me and mainly try to get the wizard's attention to cast an AoE spell to hit me as well. Thankfully, GM caught on to what they were doing and made the wizard retreat to the vault to protect it, leaving us with only the melee guards. There were only 3 of them, and we took care of them fairly okay, despite the others not helping much. After the combat, I tried to get Cleric to heal me since he refused to in combat. All of my potions were smashed by Paladin, so I had to go to him. He simply smirked and said that I had to beg. I glare at him, and the GM calls for a small break. He had to get up and use the bathroom, and I only sigh and rub my temples from the headache I was getting with these guys. Then I get asked the most outrageous question I was ever asked by Druid. "Are you effing the GM?" I was so caught off guard that I choked on my drink. And once I finally got my breath back, I choked out, "I'm sorry, what?" Druid repeated his question. "Are you too stupid to hear right? I asked if you're effing the GM." Me. Now, what on God's green earth would ever make you think of that, of all things? This is when Paladin chimes in. "Duh, we saw how you got closer to him. He's married, you know. Are you that much of a whore?" With
What
all
is
of
this
this,
accent?
I just began to laugh. I feel like it fits with him, you know? especially with how, again, absolutely brain dead that these people are being.
Yeah.
It seems like they're kind of like some of those old timey, you know, mobster like dinguses and doofuses from back in the day. With all of this, I just began to laugh, which seemed to only irritate them. One of them threatened to call GM's wife and tell them about this supposed affair, but I got my phone out and said, I'll do it for you. Don't worry. Yep, I have GM's wife number programmed in my phone. It rang a few times and she answered and even asked how the session was going. I had the phone on speaker and then I said, it's going okay, wife. Hey, did you know that I'm apparently having an affair with your husband? She was confused, and then Druid tried to spin some tall tale about how they found out about it, but even she began to then laugh very loudly. This also upset them, and Cleric went to the packages that GM brought. One of them has my name on it, and he throws the package outside and into the street before I could try to stop him. It's a very busy street since we're in the heart of our city, and the package got crushed by passing cars. I was honestly more shocked that they were being so childish. I asked them, did you guys ever grow up after high school? Okay, so they were in high school together. Wife was still laughing over the speaker. Jim came back and quirked a brow and asked what was going on. Wife answered while still laughing hysterically and said, babe, these guys actually think you and Rogue are sleeping together. She then hung up. Okay. GM's face is bright red when he looks at them and says with a sharp tone, Rogue is my cousin. Why in the F would you guys even think that we're sleeping together? You think that low of her and of me? They're all trying to look away from him now that they knew that they crossed the line. Then he looked at the package and notices that mine was gone. I told him what happened, and he was absolutely livid. Quite frankly, in a way that I have never seen before. He told him to get up and that they needed to have a talk outside. So I was left at the table and felt a little awkward, but I decided to look around the store and catch up with the owner a little bit. Even got a picture with their life-size statue of Deadpool. DM eventually came back inside, but he was alone. I sat with him and he said, I am so sorry. I didn't know that they were your bullies in school or about what happened with your present. I assured him that I was fine and that they were just childish jerks. We cleaned up the table since they kicked him from it and doesn't ever want to GM for them ever again. He told me to pick one of the other packages, and when I opened it, it was a dice set. He then explained that he got one for everyone for their own games, but he's not going to give the others theirs for how they treated him or treated me and insulted him. He asked if I still wanted to play any settings with him, and I said yes, but not with them. He smiled and said he has a couple of homebrews in mind, and I would get to pick which one I want to play when he has everything set up. He revealed just last week that the settings are either Dark Sun or a G.I. Joe homebrew. I instantly picked G.I. Joe, and my friends and the guy on YouTube are right. I feel a little better after typing this out. End post. So, I mean, right away, like I feel a little bad, but I right away I will say, like, I feel like some of this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, just like, first off, okay, so they're in high school, or they were in high school when they apparently were bullying her and stuff. Again, if she literally has been assaulted, she literally has a broken arm. It doesn't make any sense to me that, like, these guys wouldn't have suffered consequences from that at all. Like, it wouldn't have been the school's, like, even if the school didn't do anything, she and her family could still have pressed personal charges for literal assault. Like,
there's a lot of things that go into stuff like that. You don't know where these people grew up. You don't know if it's a large town, small town, big city. Like, there are lots of instances where stuff like this doesn't get charged, is what I'm saying.
You're not wrong, but she also says, like, apparently their city, I guess, or at least she says, she gives at least an inclination that their city might not be, or their town might not be too small, because, like, apparently it's busy enough where you throw a package out into the street downtown, it gets crushed pretty easily. So, I mean, I would assume, like, it's got at least a decent amount of traffic. There's a little bit more, actually, no, there's a little bit more information here that the OP goes into with some of the commenters. One commenter goes like, this is weird. His employees went out of their way to ruin his evening. And another commenter says, and spread rumors that he is having an affair. Assuming these guys were bullies and this was all real, see, I think even some of the others are like, maybe questioning some of the legitimacy. It could be that they were hoping that OP was having an affair with their boss so that they could blackmail him for professional gain. And then OP responds, the rumor was stopped when they learned that we were cousins that day. I don't know if what happened is affecting their work relationship, to be honest. And then the commenter says, of course it does. How long ago was this? I guarantee their relationship with him is completely ruined. And OP says, this happened in April of this year. At first, I wasn't interested in knowing what happened to the work relationship because I thought it wasn't my business, but now I am. I'm going to talk to my cousin tomorrow and ask about it because someone else brought up the point that they might have done this for personal gain in the company. And then I guess OP responds like 12 hours later or something, or like 9 hours later, and says, getting back to you. I talked to him this morning and I was not prepared for what he told me about before our session. I also need to say that GM and the other players work in one of those corporate places where they suggest projects for their company. I forget what they're called. Turns out that the other players and him have been at odds in and out of work long before the game. But he invited them to play as an olive branch since they were curious, which again, weird. It started because GM got a promotion over them to be in charge of the team that included the players. The affair rumor started in work, but he didn't know who started it, nor thought that it was any of them at first, which, again, weird. No clue why they said it was me, though, during our session, but it was definitely to try and undermine GM. He went to HR after, since he got proof of who was starting the rumors, though, but he didn't actually have. But maybe. I don't
know. The comments and like consistency, because there was another one like even an hour ago, saying like, "Oh, this isn't believable. This is way too much." Like the Paladin, my cousin had issues in and out of work before, and my cousin got a promotion to be in charge of a team that consisted of Paladin and the other two. With the context I got from my cousin about this, Paladin had come up with an idea of starting rumors in an attempt to undermine him. I was just a convenient punching bag since they knew me. They're just that petty when they didn't get the reaction they wanted when they brought up the affair accusation and were laughed at by me and my cousin's wife. Like, I don't know about you. I've met people like this. I've worked with people like this. It's not that unbelievable. It's
maybe
what the only thing that makes this believable is, as someone who was bullied immensely in middle school and they tried to continue it into high school, if you don't actively stop it,
they'll just keep doing it. Yeah.
I decided to actively stop it through physical violence, but that's not everybody does that. I grew like almost a foot in high school and filled out, so I was able to stop people from fucking with me. But the reality is, like, especially for girls, it's a bit different, especially if the bullies are men. Like I've seen this before in real life. Like the seemingly slow, like kind of special needs-esque bullying as an adult that this is, where you're like, throw boxing road. Like, yeah, like this is kind of, this is some real Lenny ass bullshit, which I don't, but this, I don't know. I believe it.
I don't know. Like, I just feel again, like, it's like, okay, so she says here that OP is in her 30s and cousin is in his 40s. So that means that those other guys are also in their 30s, meaning most likely they've been out of high school for at least a decade now, if not technically more. Yeah. So it's like,
hey, Adam.
So you recognize your bullies instantaneously.
Hey, Adam. How many people I'll age myself. I'm almost 30 in like 2 years.
Yeah, sure. So we're both in our upper 20s.
I have seen people from my high school who were this kind of person. They are exactly the fucking same. They have not changed, except they looked a little bit different, but they look pretty much exactly the same. They act pretty much exactly the same. They might not on the surface at their job or whatever, but when they're not working, they act exactly the fucking same as they did in high school. And it's wild. It makes no sense. I don't know how you question society and then turn around and act like that in public. But fuck me, like, it's real.
I don't doubt that it's real. It's just, I don't know. A lot of it just seemed, even the progression of it was just strange that they, like, again, if they are, because like you said, it might be one thing if they were like in like a very similar environment, like if like you went to a freaking high school reunion or whatever. But if they're here with like literally their boss and like they invited them here and it's like this is their boss, like I said, if they can function differently in a more professional environment, I feel like
it doesn't sound like they could.
But that's the thing. Like it just seems strange. Then it seems like why would her cousin then even invite them at all? Like you're saying, like as an olive branch. But it's like, well, but if they're literally causing so much shit at work, if you're having like actually if they're acting this way at work, why would you even do that at all?
Dude,
like,
I don't know.
That's why like some of this just seems like a bit it seems almost too cartoonishly like evil or stupid and dumb.
Yeah,
Like it's not impossible by any sort of me. Like I'm saying, like I'm not. I don't want to say it isn't true because, like you said, even your own personal experience. And I also have. I was also bullied a lot as a child. Like when I was younger, I was just a very. For me though, I just didn't care. And most of the time, I was also relatively built well enough that people could never really physically bully me.
Oh.
But they would always try to like. They would always mentally or emotionally try to bully me or mess with me. They would always try to say some shit to me or like because I was very innocent overall. I was very naive and innocent as a kid. I never would assume or think that if somebody was lying to me or messing with me or trying to insult me because it's like I didn't do anything to you. Why would you? It doesn't make any sense. I never said anything bad about you or whatever. In fact, I thought we were cool. I thought we were just friends. But it's just like there's just a couple
firsthand.
I have
kind of
too,
activity,
but
it's at this age, which is why
something about it just something about it just is off to me in terms of again just kind of the whole premise of it, and again just the instantaneous like again why would they even it like it's also the thing being like why would they assume that this guy if there was already rumors starting of him having an affair why would he bring his so-called mistress to this GM to this game that he's inviting them to like it's just weird. It's just
so good, dude.
it's just strange to me. But I mean, all in all, though, awesome. Still it's still a very interesting and fun, entertaining story to read. Nevertheless, whether it's true, whether it's not, it's still kind of again cartoonishly entertaining to see how just ridiculous these guys were. And I also especially appreciated how the GM handled business. Like he didn't just I don't see why he didn't handle shit right away, where it's like. If the paladin's literally breaking potions and stuff just out of spite, I as a GM would have been like, no, you don't. You don't do that.
And someone said that in the comments. Like the moment that happens, you're like, yeah, we're not doing that today.
Yeah, like that's it doesn't make it like he said if you ever do that again, you're gone. I would have just said retcon, that didn't happen. And if you do that again.
I mean, to be fair, like that would have been the correct choice. You can retcon it and verbally tell somebody, hey, don't do that shit. They just decided not to retcon, which I mean, some people just don't, and like they just don't have that rule. But at the same time, yeah, that's kind of an idiot move.
Yeah, like that.
I don't want to put too much on him because,
like I said, they tried. Like I said, there are just certain things here or there that just don't quite make sense or like line up. But again, I could just be being, like not as aware or not as conscious of certain aspects and things, and my experiences might just make it difficult for me to be able to really relate or understand to that, and that that probably is just what it is. But that being the case,
I think that's what it is. There's definitely some stuff that I don't think we can relate to in the sense of how you would act. Like if I
or just what I've experienced with people. Like I said, I've experienced things like this, but just even the progression of it, just it's difficult for me to just fully be able to comprehend or to grasp how
but as all these stories are, they're shorthands of experiences that people...
and you always have to take all of these with a grain of salt. Who's to say? Regardless,
we're not reading these because they're true necessarily.
No, we're reading them because they give an interesting, as even right here, an interesting concept for discussion and
sometimes
advice and pondering. Sometimes, other times it's just for the pure, unadulterated, unabashed cringe. That entertainment really. But that being the case, I think we probably dissected this as much as we can. Let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next one of the day. And my friends, this is going to be particularly fun because Sammy, this is Sammy's favorite story of the day. One that he read and was just so adamant about sharing with all of you in his own words. Sammy, please.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Just lies and slander. Just lies and slander.
Take it away. I don't know what you're talking about. Please.
I'm just gonna say this outright. I didn't want to do this one because the grammar is poor, and I have a hard enough time reading as it is. When you fuck at the grammar, it just screws me up completely. This is by Bulldog Drop. Friend is being horrible to play with. Wonderful. I've been in a campaign for a few weeks and it's been mostly pleasant, except for every interaction between me and one other player. That's not mostly. Backstory: we all had session zeros and talked about our characters, and everyone in session 0 had very quirky ideas. One person, very preppy, would add a title to her name every time she said it. Another wanted to be a unique race who thought they were the best at everything. My character can't speak common because they is a monster race and hasn't been to many towns. The final player said they were going to be a sad emo boy. I hate all of these people. I think that's where I'm at currently. So the campaign setup goes like this. Again, I don't like this
I'm kind
either.
of a fan. Like, I like the preppy would add a title to her name every time she said it. Like, I think that's kind of funny, you know?
I'm good.
It's like the whole Daenerys Targaryen kind of trope where you're just like,
no,
mother of dragons, breaker of chains, you know?
No, to me, this is just like a weird fey creature that just adds useless titles every time they.
That's hilarious. I would love that.
Yeah, until like the third time they do it, and then you're like, I want to kill myself.
Obviously, within reason, of course. Everything within reason.
I hate this too. So the campaign setup goes like this: fun activity, fight a monster, skill checks, level up. I don't really know what that means entirely, but I don't like it. Queue session 1 and 4th. That's not how you use that word. Everyone sits down at the table and are told of the fun activity. Where are you from? Our characters get to know each other and form a group and begin the activity. This is like a computer wrote this. Everyone is getting along with each other except for sad emo character, who is making it very well known that they are tolerating us at best and tells me and another PC to go away and stop following. Parentheses, easily done. You should have just put a comma and used any type of sentence structure would be cool. Weird thing to say, but
you know what's hilarious? I'm pretty sure that at the bottom they do said edit paragraphs and a bit of punctuation.
Yeah, you didn't fix anything. Weird thing to say, but however the player
they maybe did, honestly.
Weird thing to say, but however the player wants to play the character, right? Also bad sentence. Eventually the activity ends. What was the activity?
This might not be English might not be their first language, Sam. You know, the structures might be a bit difficult and harder to like.
And the chaos in the campaign announces the monster. What? And we all run into the room. What room? I need any context. After a couple rounds, we win. Great! Our characters are given opportunities to join other activities, and we do go about our various activities during the time between that and fun activity number 2. Anytime we have RP moments, the emo character decides to kick my character. For every time my character tries to talk and is genuinely unhelpful to the rest of the party, to the point where this character would go out of his way to be a hindrance to every other player, period. There's no sentence structure. God damn it. I stupidly, in parentheses, capitalized though, let this go and express my displeasure to the DM after the game, but told her to hold off because I think I can handle it. Can you handle spell check? Or anything? They need to add a grammar checker to fucking Reddit. God damn it. The DM tells us the fun activity and emo character chooses to stay out of it. What is the activity? Can I know? I want to know what the activities are so I can understand what you're fucking doing in this game.
I would assume maybe they're doing things like
what is the fun activity, Adam?
Maybe they're having like a tournament, or maybe they're doing a race, they're having a horse race, or maybe it's
going forward. Every time they say fun activity, I'm gonna assume they're staying at a horse brothel, just like that one we read months ago. The three of us left to have fun in our various ways at the horse brothel, while the emo character goes to their room and does whatever that player wanted. After the horse brothel encounter, the monsters activate. I wonder what monsters were in a horse brothel. Emo boy is told of the events.
Some monsters.
Of the events by and chooses to stay out of it. We win without him, barely, and only one of our party is actually caught at the horse brothel. I guess. Emo boy character's player asked the DM to have an RP session at their activity at the horse brothel and because I thought I could help, in parentheses, and maybe take the animosity, wrong parenthesis, that I am still unaware of what I or my character did wrong to deserve, end of wrong parenthesis, off of my character, at least another parenthesis. I offered to help in said activity at the horse brothel with their goal, which I only assumed was to score. The player accepted my offer. What? The scene begins. My character still can't speak common, so she does her best to convey what she wants from the emo boy. What does emo boy do? Picks up my character after an NPC paralyzed her with a spell and tries to punch my character. He misses and drops me instead. The NPC starts berating me and the emo boy character, then proceeded to push my character to the side. This is what broke the straw on the camel's proverbial back.
Hey, proverbial is a great word.
You didn't use any of those words correctly.
I mean, he did.
Except proverbial.
Yeah, proverbial.
No, but you should have said this broke the proverbial straw on the camel's back is the correct way to use that. The straw's not real either. Neither is the camel. Why would they have a camel in a horse brothel? Damn it.
Hey, you can have a camel. A camel is like a desert horse. No, it's the exotic variant, Sam.
Stop it.
The exotic variant.
It is not a variant because they don't have the same type of feet, Adam. Different types of feet.
That's what makes it exotic.
Camels have two-toed. Yeah. Camels have two-toed hooves.
Yeah.
Horses have one-toe hoof.
Yeah.
That's why
it's exotic.
Adam, can I tell you something really cool? That's why Jews don't eat pigs or camels, because they can't eat things with two hooves. Anyway, after that terrible idiom, my character saves from the paralysis and becomes the monster her race was labeled as, and stabs the NPC character and turns to slaughter emo character when another NPC stops my character cold and proceeds to punish only my character. What does that mean? I am furious at the DM, at the player playing the emo boy character, and at the emo boy character as well. Sure, I can't tell what game you're playing, so I guess you could be whatever you want to be. Next session, there is a bit of RP, and Fun Activity 3 starts at the horse brothel. The emo character is actively hindering all of our characters during the activities at the horse brothel on purpose because of monster number 2. What? Like it was our fault. Again, what? After the activity, monsters appear. My party minus the emo character goes in to fight. We all survived on the DM's good graces and exit with 1 hit point each. Wonderful. You might ask what the final character of our party was doing instead of helping us. Well, my dear reader, that emo character was trying to make money off the rest of our work. And when another player stated, "Oh, cool, you're getting money for all of us," the emo character's player smiled and said, "Nope, it's all for me." It was then I knew I was going to make the nuclear wizard. What does that mean? And before I pulled the trigger, I gave the player a chance by confessing to said player my anger and frustrations. The player got back to me and said they will no longer be physically abusive to my character, but will not stop playing the emo character the way they are playing, because if the player makes a change for one player, that has to make a change for all. I thought that would be the end of it. Instead, the DM tells me that I'm no longer allowed to RP with emo character as to the player's wishes due to my hurtful words. I'm building that wizards. Edit, paragraphs, and a bit of punctuation. Oh.
So, Sammy, thoughts, questions, concerns, statements, exclamations?
Oh. This reads this is a great comment. This reads like a story told by a 10-year-old about a game with several other preteens. What the fuck is happening? How old are you?
Oh, God damn it. Oh, I was dying. I was absolutely dying that whole time.
So by the way, this before the edit, this was just one long string. No paragraphs. They paragraphed it in the dumbest way I've read. And
deep breaths, buddy.
Look, man, look, I'm not trying to dog on someone for not speaking English. Okay? I get it. Then, like, post in your native language and I'll use Google Translate, for fuck's sake. At least it'll be sentenced correctly.
Maybe. Who knows?
It didn't even use any of the correct punctuation. You had backwards fucking parentheses throughout the whole thing that didn't add anything to the story because all of it was happening in no context.
I think
this is a worthless story.
I think the double parenthesis
story about a person who should have just left a fucking game because someone just wanted to play a toxic character and a DM let them, which is the same story that we've read about 4 other times.
Yep. I mean, this seems to be one of the most.
Why did you make me read this?
for this entire reaction right here.
You're the only one entertained by this.
Oh, I severely doubt that. Acolytes, audience, would you please leave in the comments below if you also are as entertained as I am by watching Sam torturously struggle through that.
Take my medicine.
just yeah. I mean, honestly, this is why we watch this here. You know, for these outbursts, you know, you're really able to express yourself in such a way. It was so well done, Sammy. You did such a great job. You know, we all love and appreciate your noble sacrifice there, because God damn it, that, even if I am the only one, I enjoyed that immensely. That in and of itself alone was worth it 100%.
This justifies my prescription to antidepressants.
Oh my goodness, dude. Okay, like this shit. Honestly, this whole thing here is pretty, I think, easily indicative of just like, this player clearly is playing this emo character who wants to do the whole lone wolf act. You know, we've seen it 1,000 times before. I'm not really sure. Like, again, it seems like this particular game is very homebrewed all around for almost everybody. I'm not a huge fan of the concept of like, oh, my character can't speak common because they is a monster race or whatever. And it's like,
which leads me to believe you were being just as annoying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you can't, like, that in my opinion, like, if I had a fellow player like that, that's not really a game that I'd want to play in either. Where it's like, if you have no, like, languages that you can cross and communicate with, like, it's like, okay, you don't speak common. Do you have at least, like, does the party have a language that you all can speak in? Or are there literally going to be ways where it's, or do you have a way of being able to then communicate that other party members can still understand? Like, because it's just going to get so goddamn aggravating and annoying where you're just like, I have to convey my desires through just physical, you know, actions or physical signs alone, like that. Oh my God, that would just become so aggravating so quickly. Like, I understand the idea of like, oh, that kind of sounds interesting and cool, but in actual practice, I'm going to tell you, audience, acolytes, apprentices, it's just not. Just please don't do that. Don't. It adds an extra layer of. Remember when we said that whole thing? We literally just read a story recently about a GM who tried to make the game more fun by just making it more difficult. And that's not. We've said this before. We'll say it again. Just because you make things more difficult does not automatically mean that it's going to be more fun or entertaining. All right, it's how you implement the difficulty that should make it fun. This way, it really wouldn't be. Again, not trying to bag on you, OP. It's just like, I also agree this guy was being an aggravating, annoying shit for brain. Like, he's just this annoying solo emo character who is not helping out. Or like, again, I would just then ask, like, why is this character with the party at all? If he's not helping, if he's literally just going to let you guys die, if he's not participating in anything, he's effectively a non-element in your party. He's just doing his own game. Like, the GM is literally just running a session for you three and then an individual session for him, which I don't know why the GM is okay with that. I don't know why. I don't know what the other players are thinking about that as well, because once again, seems pretty obvious he's just kind of being a bully too. He's literally physically abusing your character for what you're doing. Like, again, theme of the episode, I guess, bullies suck and should not be tolerated in any way, shape, or form. In fact, just like the first story, they should be posthumously dealt with, like Sam has done. Maybe not necessarily like just how Sam did it. There are other ways to handle it too, but certainly is one of the most effective ways I've found.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, if I did that at a table, I deserve to be removed.
Yeah. But point being is, you know, you deal with it in a more civilized manner off the cuff, you know, off at the start, where it's like, hey, talk. And GM or OP said that they did talk and they were basically told to F off, even though they told them, like, but you did it like after the fact. You didn't like you literally talked to the GM apparently, but then you were like, but it's okay, hold off on doing anything because I think I can handle it. So you literally then gave the GM, you told the GM you could handle it, even though it's like, well, what are you handling exactly? Like, this dude is consistently causing issues and problems. He's not being a team player. He is essentially a non-element overall. And obviously the problem player's whole rationalization of like, well, I'm not going to stop playing my character the way I'm playing because, like, if I make a change just for you, then I'm going to have to start making a change for everybody. No shit, Sherlock. That's exactly the point. Yeah, you make changes to fit with the group because you're part of, say it with me now, a group. That's the point. Now, it's again one thing if one player maybe has an issue with you and no one else does, like you like that one player again is being like, well, I don't like the way you play that character. Then it's like, okay, sure, it is fair to be like, all right, well, even if you don't like it, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm doing anything wrong, right? That is always a very important distinction to be able to try and make and recognize. Just because someone might not like something that someone is doing, that doesn't necessarily mean that they are doing anything wrong. They, for whatever reason, just could have a problem with it on a personal level. But here, I don't necessarily know if that's one of those moments because that character, if OP is to be trusted and believed, is actively doing things, is actively physically like assaulting them just for talking or trying to interact. That would be something I'd be like, yeah, you try that shit with my character, I'm gonna kill you. Or at the very least, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. I'm not gonna tolerate that. Like you touch my character for stupid reasons or for no reason, really, no good reasons, I'm taking you out. I'll respond in kind. But you know what? That being the case, I think we've kind of dissected this as best as we can. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story of the day. This one also is a very interesting topic and kind of discussion that I would also like to query to our audience, our fans. And I'd like to hear from you as well, Sammy. And I think I know what you'd say. But this post is titled, "Is it bad to joke around too much in a D&D game?" by Emotional Memory 3230. I'm currently in a group with a lot of great players, but there's just one small problem that I'm not sure is actually a problem. And it's that there's one player in particular that just doesn't take anything serious. Now, I like comical characters. I myself like to play lighthearted ones that have a slight tragic backstory that's revealed later. And my character story recently got revealed, but this player, let's call them Paladin, just could not seem to take it seriously at all. He kept cracking jokes the entire time and would constantly make comments that made it feel like he was either making fun of my character or just severely downplaying or dismissing anything about them. And this was a pretty intense moment for me as my character revealed that she was actually a reborn and her sister was actively seeking to kill her, believing her to be an undead husk and that she'd be putting my soul to rest by destroying me. Paladin instantly started mocking my character, saying things like, "But you're alive, right? So then you're not undead, so she doesn't have to kill you. She has no reason to." As if them making this statement not only solved the entire dilemma, but it also felt like they were just straight up undermining the backstory I had created, making it seem like my character's sister's actions were just silly or dumb. And it almost felt like each time I revealed a piece of information, they were trying to find some joke about it or make a comment that made the moment feel less tense or heavy. The group is basically being followed by an assassin, which is my character's sister, and has been targeting the group for months now. And her identity had just been fully revealed. And the first joke the Paladin made was basically to give my character over to her because I'd already died once, so dying twice wouldn't be so bad, right? Like, no matter what my character said, everything was belittled or treated as a joke. And it honestly made me start hating the backstory that I had crafted because Paladin just made me feel as if it was poorly constructed and the situation was just so simple. Like, my character's sister didn't even have to feel the way that she did at all. Like, I don't know. I tried explaining that her sister was stricken with grief and the way they were raised led to this feeling, but this made Paladin just start mocking her family as a whole and cutting insults about all of them. And by the end of it, I just didn't want to roleplay the scene anymore at all. I don't know if I should say anything about it overall because I'm not sure if it's a problem or just my problem. They like jokey characters, and I can too at times, but I really wanted to have a serious moment here. End post. So, Sammy, what do you make of this inquiry here, of this whole thing?
Just fucking say something. Why are you sitting there not saying anything? I don't fucking understand. look, I understand not confront. Oh, buzzword. It's on the bingo card.
Yep.
Confrontation.
Confrontation.
We don't like it. We don't like it here. That's why we write stories instead of talking to
people. Nobody likes confrontation.
Nobody
it
knows.
is never comfortable. It is always uncomfortable.
So just tell the dude to cut it out. And if you don't want to tell the dude first and you want to talk to the DM to make sure you're not crazy, then do that. But it's really not that hard. And then if the DM is like, yeah, I see this is bothering you, and like I can understand that. I see that this is happening. I've noticed it, but I didn't know how you felt, so I didn't say anything. Okay, cool. Next step, he tells the player to cut it out. And then if that doesn't work, you talk to the player. And if that doesn't work, stop playing with them. It's very simple. Or the DM maybe is on your side and kicks that person out. If he's doing this to you, he's most likely doing this to other characters. And while it might not have been as egregious, they might not like it either. It's really not that hard.
Honestly,
I feel bad because, like, obviously you care a lot about your backstory and stuff like that. But again, we've talked about this. Being so attached to your character that makes you feel this type of way outside of the game is a very dangerous hill that you slide down quite fast if you're not careful.
It's a slippery slope for sure.
It's really hard to avoid, and it happens to all of us. And I'm sorry that you're going through that. I do want to say that,
though. Yeah, absolutely. And it is good. But I will say though, like to that same effect, like there absolutely is something to be said about like, okay, maybe you aren't necessarily overly attached to your character, but it is kind of the point of the game to be able to act out or have this, right? That's the point of a backstory. You have these moments, and that's the point of the game, to create a narrative that everybody enjoys and feels moved by in some way. And the fact that one of the other players is kind of actively like diminishing your enjoyment of your character, because that's the reason you're playing the game, is to play your character,
dogging on your little
and
guy.
is actively diminishing your backstory, your character, you know, the writing you put forth, which, okay, you know, nobody here is trying to say or claim that we're master storytellers or writers, right? But you shouldn't feel bad about what you wrote either. Like it, you know, is it maybe a bit, you know, unoriginal or commonplace? Sure. But once again, I will always say this. There is a reason why so many people use, you know, the tried and true hero's journey story and aspect. It's just because it works so freaking well. Like, it might be the same thing overall, but it just works. Everybody loves it and likes it because it works really well. And so there's nothing wrong with having things that might not be entirely original. What you can do is you take the base concept and you reflavor it, retexture it for your own, to make it more original for you, which you have done. Yeah. And so you shouldn't feel bad about that at all, OP. And like Sammy said, I absolutely agree. Have a conversation with somebody. Please. Talk to the GM. Like that is if nothing else, that is always something me and Sammy will constantly advocate for. Just say something. Talk. Do not just sit and suffer in silence.
Well, yeah, don't let it fester, because you're just gonna makes you more
like just you don't have to be an asshole. You don't have to be a jerk or a dick. You can just express yourself. And believe me, I get it, because that too can be scary, right? Because that requires a little bit of vulnerability, right? To be honest about how you're feeling. And you know, one of the worst feelings is, oh, you're honest and you're conveying yourself and you're the only person who feels that way and you feel all alone, right? Look, that can suck. But it's also, quite frankly, arguably better than what you're gonna sit here and deal with. Like, because that then will then convey to you, okay, maybe I'm not right for this group after all. Like, maybe this is not the right place for me. If I'm having an issue, if I'm having a problem, nobody else is feeling this way, and they're not really inclined to maybe make any kind of shift or change to accommodate how I'm feeling, then okay, then maybe I just need to leave. And it sucks, it's gonna hurt, but it's also okay. And overall, just better. For you, more than anyone else, for everybody probably, but for you specifically more than anyone else, it will be better.
Yeah. And in the words of one of my recent new role models, express yourself, love yourself. Said by the naked guy outside the White House.
See, there you go, dude. Words to live by. The immortal legend himself. The immortal legend himself. Like there's nothing wrong with wanting to have serious. Like, I absolutely agree. Yes, I do think people can joke around too much. I do think they're absolutely. Oh, like yeah. Just watch Thor: Love and Thunder as a perfect example of too much freaking jokes and too many comedy and not enough actual, like, drama or seriousness of a situation, that it completely undercuts anything and nothing matters. You can't have a real emotionally moving moment and thing if you cannot, for at least a little bit, take something seriously. Like, and that's, I know for a fact, me and Sammy prefer that too. Again, me and Sammy, I think, both prefer a little bit more of a realistic, kind of campaign in terms of like reacting logically and reasonably in the world, right? That's where the immersion comes from. If your character is experiencing hardship, they're not just they're not an omniscient god up above that actually doesn't have any real stake in this world. They live in the world. They've had experiences. They grew up here. They're going to react reasonably and appropriately to the situation. This guy clearly isn't, because he's being a dick. Is plain and simple. He's kind of just being an asshole. Maybe he's not doing it on purpose. Maybe he literally is just kind of not, he's being really socially unaware and inept. But regardless, that's why you should have a conversation, to be like, hey, give him the opportunity to recognize kind of how his behavior is being received, the opportunity to correct it. And hopefully by that point, if he chooses to, you guys will be able to get together and you can really make a beautiful story together. Mm-hmm. But Sam, unless you have any other kind of thoughts or stuff on this, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next one of the day, shall we? Little shorter one there, but a very, I think, important and interesting topic that I always had a fascination about as well, is people's kind of tendency. And I know a lot of people also have a tendency to kind of undercut more uncomfortable or maybe heavy topics with, jokes. And that's not the worst thing ever, but there is also something to be said, like sometimes you just kind of got to let something be sad or heavy or weighty. Sometimes you can't always just undercut and supersede it with humor. Sometimes you got to just let it breathe. Sometimes.
You can't joke through everything.
Not everything.
Especially if it's not your story to joke through.
Especially that. Yeah, especially that. It's one thing if it's your own tale and you can, like, try to whatever, but even then it's like,
that's one of those things that, like, I know a lot of people they don't like Critical Role for a myriad of reasons.
Yep.
If there's one thing that they do well, it's respecting each other's stories.
100%.
And yes, they have their moments where they fuck around and they joke and they push it a little bit too far sometimes. You can see it on screen. More so in their earlier games than in their later games.
I was gonna say, like, one of the best, I feel like,
the Scanlan situation,
role play moments in history. Yeah. Just in any role play.
Oh man,
was the Scanlan character with Sam. The way he played Scanlan throughout the first campaign, obviously super, just pretty comedic character all around. But he was able to bring up those aspects and those moments of real, like, undercutting a lot of the jokes with some real intense moments that were just phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
And just left everybody speechless when he did it. And he did it, like, for real. And obviously that's where his acting chops kind of come in.
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, we all have those moments in a game where things get a little bit too real.
But it's still just like, it was phenomenal how he did it.
Oh yeah, but like that, that's the thing that they do well. I think more than anything else, you can say
100%.
I might not like their DMing style. I might not like how they play the game, whatever. But they respect each other's stories, and yes, they make jokes and all that. But at the end of the day, if someone gets serious,
it's serious. They respect that. They respect that, and they will never undercut or diminish that.
No, especially not when things get serious. But moving on. Mm-hmm. I have another one for us. Player has a problem with women. I'm his female DM. By Available Regret 304. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine introduced his friend to us, and we got along. Said friend then asked if he could join my campaign, which sounded fun to him, and I agreed. After I did a session 0 with him and got a good impression of him, he rolled his character and joined the party. Now I am DMing for 3 real-life friends. 2 are guys, and our dynamic is very easy. We joke about each other, make stupid jokes about gender stereotypes, never crossing a line, though. For example, when I went to the kitchen to grab a drink with my headphones on, we play over Discord and Roll20, my guy friend said, good, exactly where a woman should be. Again, I take no offense in such jokes because I know he doesn't mean it in a harmful way, and we can all laugh about it. The guy who didn't respect me is another story. I recall one time where my players investigated an abandoned ship. There was no crew left, and they wanted to find out what happened to them. I wrote a little adventure around it, and after some hours, they found out and defeated the evil there. I was glad everyone was having fun. Then the problem player asked, "That was cool. Good job, Daniel." Daniel is a friend.
Not a question, but
Yeah, just good job, Daniel. Daniel is a friend who introduced us and has been playing for years, so he's got a lot of experience. I was confused, so I asked back, "Why Daniel?" To which the problem player answered, "Didn't he help you with it?" I said that I did, in fact, write it by myself. There was an awkward silence, and he just went, "Okay," like he didn't believe me. It was weird, not gonna lie. There have been some minor things that have happened too, which just got me feeling that he either didn't like my style of DMing, my campaign, or me overall. For example, he made snarky comments about every female character I introduced, them either being too annoying, too cliche, too blabby, too childish. One comment stuck with me when she said, "I don't know, why are you doing this? Women don't act like that." Big news, I'm a woman. I know how a woman acts and feels. He then just went with a snarky, "Well, whatever, maybe you're just not woman enough." Again, I rubbed it off as a poorly made joke since it's common in our friendship or our friend group to joke about such things, but I realized that he started to make meaner comments. My voice was too high and screechy all of a sudden. My missions were boring. My DMing style was not enjoyable. I talked to him about it. He just said he was sorry and he was going through a hard time. I told him that I understand if he was in a difficult place, but not to let his frustration out on me since, although that doesn't really work. But then after another mission, I've had enough, and I realized that he was just not having fun, but he had a problem with women overall. Players needed a way to cross the ocean, and they hired a captain, a female captain. I heard the problem players sigh, but focused on them negotiating with the price for the ride. A short time later, they were on the ship, and the captain asked them about their backstories a bit. Problem player answered, "I don't want to talk about it with some ret." I'm assuming they meant wench.
I was gonna say, well, either one I guess could work,
right.
but
I don't want to talk about it with some wretch.
I assume wench also.
Yeah,
though.
maybe. I was surprised since the captain hadn't done anything yet besides taking them on her ship. Me as the captain. I will not tolerate someone disrespecting me on my ship. You better watch your words. Him. Yeah, whatever, dude. Me. Your eyesight might not be working fine, but I am no man, son. Somehow that triggered him to where he wanted to duel her for his honor or something. I asked him out of game if he was sure, since she was several levels higher than him, but he insisted. So they fought. He lost, of course. And when I tell you he was freaking out, he wasn't just disappointed that he lost, he was straight up angry. We asked him to calm down since it wasn't the end of the world, and I told him to leave the call for a while to let the steam off since it was very uncomfortable for us to hear him rant. To which he said, "Stop telling me what to do. No woman tells me what to do." And that was it. That was it. I realized that he just had a deeply rooted problem with women, fictional or not, and that all the snark he threw towards me was because of this. He left the call, and our friend Daniel said he would talk to him. But I didn't want the guy back in the campaign, for my sake and our other female friend's sake, to which everyone agreed. I don't know what happened after. Daniel hasn't mentioned him again. Maybe he ended the friendship. Don't know. Just hope that guy gets help.
Honestly, seems a pretty cut and dry kind of. This guy, ironically, I do think he was telling the truth and that he is going through some shit in his life, but I feel like it's probably been some shit that's going on for a long time.
And it's called hating women.
I was gonna say it's called being an incel, kind of from the sounds of it.
Oh
but
no.
it's,
I fucking hate incels. I
that's-
love the comments of. I invited a guy to my gaming group once, and he asked who was running it. So I told him, and he just goes, "Oh, I don't play for female DMs." What in the world? That's so entitled. Like he's doing you a favor by playing in your campaign. All I know is that this dude carries around a katana and a trilby, and has a neck beard.
He's got a fedora for sure. He's got a trench coat. He's got a fedora. He's got like the
he spent
the
years studying
sunglasses.
he spent years studying the blade.
The blade, I think
the
you
blade.
mean. The blade, not
yeah,
the blade. The blade.
Like I know it's the internet and this incel bullshit is like all over the place.
Oh.
Especially nowadays.
He's totally red pill for sure. He's absolute red pill.
But fuck me if this isn't pathetic. I like I can't really say much because like both of my D&D groups are all guys. We had a girl, but she stopped playing with us It just wasn't for her, I guess, after a certain point. But the reality is, I never cared one way or the other. I don't think anyone in our group really gave a shit. Sure, there's plenty of jokes and things that get thrown around. But a lot of us also don't play just male characters. So most
Yeah.
of the time those jokes are at the expense of the people playing female characters at the table. Um, sometimes they go over the line and we correct it, but it's one of those things of like,
I mean, that's
if you
bound to
genuinely
happen in
like
any
you
friend group that
well, especially
lasts
with some
long
of the
enough.
people I hang out with. But
Yeah.
like, if you like, that's really genuinely the hill you're gonna die on.
I
I hate
mean,
the opposite sex.
well, that's the thing. The irony of it is he doesn't actually hate the
Is
opposite
it because
sex.
they're telling you what to do, you pathetic weasel?
It was because exactly that. He is pathetic in that it's because he feels it's because he realizes on some level probably how weak he is personally, right? And how insecure that he is.
Shit? There's a woman.
He doesn't like the fact that they have so much control over him, right? Here's the thing, guys like this will also turn around and be the simpiest simps that have ever simped for anybody, right? The moment any like really attractive woman or more even marginally attractive woman maybe even gives him the time of day or any actual real like attention, oh, you better
lay down
believe
my sword for your
yeah,
life,
you better believe, milady, oh, I am your knight. And he'll like, it's like, because at the end of the day, he's just feeling bitter and resentful at his lack of, I guess, like accomplishment or success in interacting with the opposite sex. Which,
I don't know about you, man, but if I actually met one of these fucking people, I would just like.
I would honestly, I would be interested to know.
Him.
I would be interested to know what's happening in his life. Either it's that, or it's that he was recently like.
They probably breathe with their teeth. Like that's the.
It could be that, or you know what? Let's also let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say like maybe he's actually much more of a normal individual than we're giving him credit for, right? And what it is though is he's just feeling all bitter and resentful because a woman broke his heart, right?
Oh,
like he was in a relationship. And maybe he
woman.
was
Don't hate
he was
all women,
super into her.
Loser.
Well, no, don't even hate that woman because it might not be. She may not have actually even done anything terrible or bad. But let's even say like,
but if she's a terrible person,
that's what I'm saying. Let's go even further and say like, you know what? Yeah, maybe she did. Maybe she cheated on you. Maybe she abused her or whatever. Yeah, you know what?
Hate her.
Go ahead. Fine. You can dislike her. You can hate her. You can have your feelings about her. But where exactly? How exactly, why exactly are you going to start projecting that onto all women, right? Just because something or someone, it's the same thing as racism or again, obviously in this case, sexism, but it's the same thing as racism. It's the same thing as any kind of homophobia, phobia, whatever. Like, why are you just umbrellaing all of these people into the same thing because of your exceedingly limited, most likely, because after this point, no woman's going to interact with you if you're going to treat them or act like this way. You're exceedingly limited and small experience, a pool of experience.
Don't worry, bud. There's a trad wife out there for you. Just a woman with no self-respect out there just for you, bud. Don't worry about it.
I don't know. For that to even happen, you would have to be offer something.
Oh, dude, it's all over.
Yeah. Oh, I know. There absolutely are people like that.
Look, like all you gotta do is make 6 figures, find a wife that has zero self-respect, and you'll be fine.
I mean, hell, you make 6 figures, you don't even have to find out what was zero.
They're gonna cheat on you. It's fine because they don't care about you.
Well, you're probably also
loser.
You're probably also going to be rather either abusive in the relationship or completely and utterly like absent from it. So at that point, it's almost like you give him an actual excuse to cheat on you because it's like.
There's no excuse to cheat. Just end it. But
agreed. But my point being is though, it's like if you're basically going to be either abusive or absent, it's like what else are they supposed to really
pathetic?
Do? Yeah, or just whatever. It's like at that point, I'm like, again, it's not like it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's like you're sitting there. It's like okay, yeah, they clearly found something in somebody else that you were either actively not giving or were again only giving harm and toxicity. Yeah. Why wouldn't they find something like you literally just pushed them? You literally just like kicked them like to that other to that person. Like what do you like?
Look, I'm gonna put this out here for anyone that is listening. I would avoid playing games, D&D, whatever, any kind of communal interaction, any kind of collaborative or cooperative thing. Don't play with losers. Like, and when I say losers, I mean hateful people, sexists, racists, misogynists, all that
Just all
shit.
the pretty
Just
obvious, you know.
like if someone shows up at your game and is like vile and just shit talks a group of people for no
Bigoted,
reason, and like
just hateful
so like
for
even if
no
you're not a
reason.
part of that group, like don't play with that person. You know why? Because they don't deserve to have that scope of interaction with people that are like them, because you're not, hopefully you're not like them. um it'll just save you the headache later on of them going on some fucking racist tirade or shooting up a school or whatever they decide to do in their spare time. It's just not worth, it's not worth your time as an individual. Me personally, if I found out that one of the people I'm playing with and have been playing with is this weird fucking secret incel bullshit weasel, like, oh, they're gone. It's that simple, really. Like, it's just, it's not that hard. Just avoid these types of people. You're gonna thank me later. Your table's gonna be better off. You're, if you ever want to bring new people in, they're not gonna be looking at you like, why are you harboring this weird idiot? It's just easier. It's just a way
I mean, not
easier
just
type of
easier, but
experience.
it's healthier. It's not even just easier.
Yeah.
It is by all standards of measurement, it's just better and healthier.
Yeah,
Just
more positive.
just
Like,
don't.
it's just,
Why?
you
Yeah,
don't need it.
like Sam said, why are you harboring this guy? And here's the thing: it would be one thing, like we said, maybe he's had some really bad experiences, right? Maybe he throughout his life he never has had any real luck with women. He's tried.
Oh.
There are plenty of things where it's just like, all right, he has now found acceptance. But even worse, he's now been indoctrinated by this whole group of people. I mean, that's how they do it, right? It's the same shit with, like, the old World War II group that we all, love to hate, and because they were terrible. It's the same shit where it's just like, these people don't necessarily actually believe this stuff per se.
Well,
they adopt this way of thinking because these are the people that are like accepting them. They are giving them succor. They are giving them acceptance and whatever. And again, here's the thing: I'm not saying it makes it okay by any means, way, shape, or form, but there is also still something to, again, be acknowledged about that how desperate people become to be accepted into a thing that they will then start to adopt some of the most horrendous, ridiculous, stupidest, like, doctrines, all just because they're alone and they don't want to be alone anymore, and they're like, this is how I can be accepted. I mean, this is, again, people cave to peer pressure for the dumbest, stupidest, like the smallest bit of peer pressure all the time.
Adam, I love you, man. I get what you're trying to say. I don't accept that as an excuse.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm not saying that
I'm just saying, like,
it okay.
If
but
you,
it is
as a person,
reason to again understand and be
I don't
aware
care
of if that
I don't
happens.
care if that's the only group that accepts you. You make that conscious choice, you're gonna rot in hell.
Probably.
That's there's,
but
you will not get any sympathy from me.
I say this to say, if a person, though, is truly repentant, if the person is truly wanting after a time to understand and to make up for, well, you know what? I was a dumb, stupid kid, and I bought into this shit because I was weak and I was an idiot, and I was just feeling angry in a ways, and I took it out. Like, again, own your shit. Own your shit.
But the people who are actually willing to do that are few and far between.
Agreed. They are. But my point being is, though, obviously, that is a thing that does exist. They're not very common, but they do exist. And that point being, if somebody is truly willing to do the work and is truly willing to own up to the fact that they were a effing asshole of the utmost degree, and you're wanting to maybe, redeem yourself, some redemption, okay. But that's going to take a lot of goddamn work. So
I would say, when you're getting your group together, be aware of people who only like playing as Germany in World War II games. Just, it's
just a little something to look into, maybe.
They have like a cool yellow flag in their background when they turn their camera on Discord.
Maybe, or like, if there's someone that always loves to play as like an orc, and then like, but they're just like, and then they have in their backstory that they like, they've taken like 7 wives that they got off of like raids or pillages to villages and stuff. And maybe think about, wait a minute. What?
Huh?
That seems okay. It's like, oh no, it's orc culture, so
yeah, maybe
it's
they
fine.
want to. Maybe every they bring a character to the table who sounds a lot like an old timey Southern plantation owner, like, and that's the kind of character that they play the whole time.
To be fair, those kinds of characters could be interesting at least. You know, like
sure. No, I meant like actively.
Accent. Yeah.
They're actively a Southern, like, you know, they want to play as Mr. Candy from Django Unchained. But they actually still work at they still own the plantation.
Oh yeah, no.
That's kind of a red flag.
They're like, oh no, I have squires. I'm a knight, so I have squires. That's all. Don't even worry about them.
Yeah.
It's like,
you know, if it's tasteful, it's one thing. But if you're a little bit unsure as to where
if there is any question, like, and again, within reason, you might want to just
like, dude, you know, I think it'd be really fun to play an orc or Goliath or some sort of tribal race that does that in their early life, has those experiences, those bad things that they did,
you know, raid, pillage, plunder, and
vis-a-vis the Grog story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Grog.
Of meeting Pike and her grandpa,
like
and being like, this thing is before him, and it's like,
it's just innocent.
Oh, this all makes sense now.
It's
like,
completely innocent, and it's done no wrong. It doesn't. It's like, wait a minute, why am I doing this again?
Yeah, like that would be a cool character to do if you do it correctly, and you're not like going into the grisly detail.
A bit of redemption arc, you know, like you don't have to be so explicit with all this stuff, but you could just be like, I did some really
everyone loves a comeback.
I did some really dark things in my past that I'm not proud of, and I am actively working to be better, you know?
But getting into the weird specifics of it, not required.
Not explicitly necessary.
No.
You can literally hint at it and be like, there was a lot. I just I was raised
and be uncomfortable.
It's like, I was raised with that mentality, and often if anybody kind of either questioned or pushed back, you were mercilessly beaten and disciplined for it. And so it kind of just became, you know, instinct or nature to just kind of do it, to just go along with it, because otherwise you would be inflicted with pain. And again, these like literally just said before, these are my family. These are the people who I grew up with, who raised me, who I thought were, you know, and
turn it into something cool.
Eventually, I stopped. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore.
I wouldn't go the full flagellant route unless your DM and the other players at your table are like cool with that kind of story.
Yeah, unless you're trying to do a real grim dark campaign.
If you are unsure of what a flagellant is, it is the priests that decided that self-harm and hurting themselves throughout the whipping of the back.
The whipping of the back
was a self-atonement.
Yep.
To get into heaven.
They were some of the most dogged, like, religious zealots. They were zealots.
They were zealots.
They were absolute zealots.
Again, super cool idea if you do it correctly, but not everybody's going to be comfortable with that kind of gruesome retelling of a story.
It's a lot. It's
cool though.
It can be cool. It can be very cool because again, it can elicit, again, like even me and Sammy, it can elicit reactions because it is so intense, right? Because it is so intense and dark and weighty, that is obviously the appeal, right? Is that it elicits an actual visceral emotional response. But
like I'm thinking of adding an NPC like that into my Out of the Abyss campaign.
Yep.
A dark elf who ends up helping the party, but has this very weird relationship with Lolth, which is this undying servitude, but breaking from the ideas. And
I mean, it's the perfect thing. Lolth is always about like whatever makes things difficult for my people makes them stronger.
But taking the beliefs, turning it a different way, and being in support of helping people. But because he's doing that, has to atone
because of his direct.
That's such a cool idea. It'd be very difficult to do that in a normal game. But in a game like Out of the Abyss,
is one of the perfect ways, because it's literally called the Abyss. It's dark as shit.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
But you know what? With that, I do believe that's all that we kind of have for you today.
A little short one today, but
a little bit of a shorter one, but that's okay. You know, I think it's still probably gonna be about an hour or so, as we love to just pontificate and ramble on as we do. Hey. That's our shtick. That's our whole vibe. With that you know words. What I mean? Hey, you know, we love the $1 million words here. As always, though, y'all, thank you so much. If you stuck with us this long, we appreciate it so very much. Again, be sure to like and comment down below. your thoughts on some of these stories or discussions that we've had. You know, what do you guys think about the whole, you know, is it bad to joke too? Can you joke too much in a D&D game? Are these, you know, problems fixable? Are these OPs or even the problem players in these stories, are they redeemable? Do they have the capacity for redemption or for these situations to be fixed? You know, let us know, and we'd be absolutely curious and love to hear your thoughts. Please do, of course, subscribe and share the channel if you haven't already. It helps us out immensely. And as always, thank you guys so much. And we will be sure to catch you next time when we dive back down into the archive.